Good morning, seniors, and welcome to your second webinar. On behalf of the college readiness team, I want to thank you for all the hard work you've been putting into creating your final college list. College applications are a marathon, not a sprint, and we'll be there every step of the way. We know that the process can seem long and difficult, but you'll get through it, and we'll, again, help you as much as we can and as often as we can. So let's get started. Today's main objectives are to create an FSA ID, which is what you'll need to fill out your federal financial aid form, and to finalize the personal statements that you started last year. We'll have a couple of announcements. We'll do a refresher on personal statements, and then we'll give you guidelines for creating your FSA ID. You will debrief with your mentor group and then complete your action items. First, some announcements. We'd like to remind you that your college lists are due in Overgrad today. This means that you have marked at least 5 colleges as will apply in Overgrad. You should have a mix of reach, targets, and safeties that will be good fits for you. Secondly, if you are still working on your list, the college fair is this afternoon from 3:30 to 5:30 on Zoom. There will be over 50 colleges from around the country represented, and we urge you to take this opportunity to check in with the admissions officers for colleges that you have considered, as well as to learn about some schools that maybe you didn't realize were great fits for you, but could be the perfect school. All of the information can be found on the College Fair task card, which you should have completed during SDL time last week. If you have not completed the task card yet, you can see the tiny URL here, and please do so before the college fair this afternoon. A reminder about college lists. This may seem repetitive, but it's really important. Make sure that you have marked will apply to the colleges you are following, because following is not the same as finalizing your college list. Your final college list is the list of schools that you have marked as will apply. The college readiness team will be reviewing your, again, final college list and giving you feedback. So it's important that your final list is complete and accurate. If you need help curating your list, you can email us at collegereadiness@summitps.org. Pause the video here and take 5 minutes to open Overgrad and mark at least 5 schools as will apply. After everyone has done this, you can restart the video. We also want to remind you that SAT School Day is October 13th. This is your opportunity to take the SAT for free in a comfortable setting. Now, you've probably heard that most schools are test optional this year. This means that you can decide whether or not you send your scores. However, this does not mean the same thing as test blind. If you decide to send your scores, schools will review them. So if you do well, your SAT scores can enhance your overall application. Now, we're not going to give you a number and say, you did well, send in your scores. That's a very subjective and personal decision. So you should talk to your mentor and trusted people to decide whether you want to send your scores and whether your application will be strengthened by them. Another reason to take the SAT is that some scholarships still require it. So it's your responsibility to find out what exactly scholarships are looking for and to send in your materials accordingly. The SAT also gives you a sense of whether you are ready for college level reading, writing, and math. If you send your scores, some schools are still using them to do fall placements in courses. We have some resources here to help you prepare, Khan Academy and Schoolhouse. You can see the URLs here. And both offer free resources, including tutorials and placement and practice tests. Now, where are we in the college application process? In this point in September, you are gearing up for applying to colleges by finalizing your college list, working on your personal statements, preparing for the SAT, and creating your FSA ID. Next month, you will be delving deep into the applications themselves, so it's important that you stay on schedule. Okay, this slide is important for people who are thinking about how to time their application. There's a lot of information here, and we're going to go through it fairly carefully. So many private schools have different application deadlines, including the option to apply early. Early application deadlines tend to be in November or October, and you can find out actually if you got in by December. There are two programs, early decision and early action. The biggest decision between the two is that if you apply early decision, it is considered binding, which means you have to go there. You can only apply to one early decision school. Early action means you apply early and find out if you got in early, but you don't have to go there. There are two types of early action programs, restrictive and non-restrictive. Restrictive means you can only apply to one. Non-restrictive means you can apply to as many as you want. Each school is a little different, so it's important that you check the admissions websites for the most up-to-date information. So who should apply early? Early action and early decision is a good option for students who have researched their schools and know for sure that they have a number one choice that's going to be the best fit for them, both academically and as campus life. You should meet or exceed the admissions criteria and have a consistently strong academic record. Applying early is not a good option for students who have not researched their colleges, are not completely sure that they want to attend the college, that they need financial aid, that they want to take the fall semester, their senior year, to raise their grades to meet the admissions criteria, or for students who want to take the ACT or the SAT in the fall. Now, you may have seen statistics that the admissions rate for the early action, early decision pool is higher than for the regular decision pool. And you might think there's advantage to applying early. This is not true. The reason that the percentages tend to be higher is because the pool tends to be stronger, because again, it comprises people who are sure that it's their number one choice. If you decide to apply early action or early decision, you need to request your letters of recommendation as soon as possible by actually asking your mentors or teachers to write them. We suggest giving your recommenders at least 2 weeks advance notice. And to help them write the best recommendation possible, you should give them a brag sheet. We have given you a link here to a brag sheet that you can complete and give to your recommenders again as soon as possible. The third option is regular decision, where you apply at the normal priority deadline. These deadlines are usually in November to February of your senior year.
Whichever option you choose between early decision, early action, and regular decision, many of us will need to also submit an application essay, a personal statement, along with our application to college. That's our real focus for today, thinking about how do you craft this story to hand off to the admissions to really share about who you are and what you bring to the table. Before we go into the nitty-gritty of how to write one, let's hear from some alumni. Some Summit grads are going to share with us advice on how they wrote their personal statements. As you listen, I want you to think, what advice are they offering, and how can that help support you as you're writing? Let's check out the video.
Hello, Summit students. My name is Mrs. Rosas, and I am the Director of College Readiness for all Summit schools. I am part of Summit Prep's first graduating class, a long time ago. For my personal statement, I chose to write about all the stereotypes that were against me. I was a student who grew up in a low-income, immigrant, single-parent household. But despite all of that, I was well on my way to becoming a first-generation college graduate, with a lot of love and support from my mother and my Summit mentor. It can be challenging to try to almost sell yourself to these institutions, but keep in mind that this is a great opportunity for them to hear your voice and not just focus on GPA and test scores. I wish you all luck, and I cannot wait to work with you all this year.
Hi everyone, my name is Jimena, and I went to Summit Sierra, and I am a part of the graduating class of 2020. And I'm here to share a little bit about my personal statement. So for my personal statement, I talked about a little house that's in Mexico. And I came around to talking about a house in Mexico because I started to think about what are the things that embody me and who I am. And I use the house as a metaphor with myself because I am very family oriented. I love my family and I'm very connected to them. I'm also a proud Mexicana. I am proud to be Mexican American, and I embodied myself in the two things. In my personal statement, I talk about how my family built up the house over these 18 years, same way how they have built me up as a person, and I I love my culture, so it just made sense to talk about a house that is back home in Mexico. And for me, that it really embodied who I am as a person. And I felt like college administration wouldn't understand the full Jimena if they didn't see this side of my story. And as you're working on your personal statements, just think about, does this sound like me? Don't talk about other people, just talk about, does this sound like me? Is this who I am? And if you can get that, then you got yourself a personal statement. I wish you guys the very best in this year. I know there's lots of uncertainties, but I know you guys are going to do great. Bye.
I'm going to briefly share with you guys how I came to choose my topic for my personal statement. During the college application process, I was a student at Summit Prep. I was actually part of the 3rd graduating class, and I loved my years at Summit Prep. And during my time to write my personal statement, I was super confused and puzzled as to what to write about. And one of the things that helped me tremendously was this question: what is your story? And the reality is that you and your peers have a story that is very unique to you. Your experiences, whether it's playing a sport, a hobby, the circumstances in your household, have impacted and will continue to impact your educational journeys. And for me, I asked myself during that time, what is my story? And how does that fit into college? And how has that impacted my education? And that was that at the age of 4, my family and I came to the US. So I wrote about how that impacted my desire to be the first person in my family to graduate college, how even the application process was different than that of my peers. So I encourage you to ask yourself that question: what is my story? How has that impacted my education, or how will it continue to impact my education during college? Each one of you is unique. We all have a story to share, and I invite you to ask yourself that question, and I wish you the best of luck while you're writing your personal statements.
So as our alumni said, a personal statement is really about, what is your story? Who are you? Because your application will consist of things like grades, your extracurriculars, your activities you've been involved in. But admissions are really looking to figure out who you are as a person and what do you bring to the table. You heard some examples from our alumni about what they wrote about. Let's now look at some prompts and think about, what could you write about too? Here are 2 example prompts. Read them with me as I read aloud. Tell a story from your life. Describe an experience that either demonstrates your character or helps to shape it. This is from the Coalition application. If you're applying to somewhere like the University of Washington, either Seattle or Bothell, this could be a prompt that you write about. When I read this, some words that stand out to me include story and character. Looks like they're looking for one moment in your life that really shows your values and who you are. The second prompt is, the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? This is one of many prompts you can choose on the Common App. Common App is a platform used by a number of private schools and other schools across the country, where you can fill out one application and apply to a bunch of different schools at the same time. When I zoom in on this prompt, some words that stand out to me are a challenge, setback, or failure. Similar to the first prompt, most personal statements will ask you about one moment, one experience that was hard for you. And then it's asking you to talk about what you learned from it. Those learnings will show your character and show who you are as a person, even beyond your grades, even beyond what you've done in school. They're really into thinking about who you are and your story. Therefore, some general tips. Be yourself. There are many pieces to an application package. As we said, your grades and your transcript, your test scores if you choose to submit them, and if the school uses them in their admissions process, your achievements, as well as your story and your personal statement. There could be one essay, a personal statement. There could be multiple essays. When we say things like a PIQ, like a short response, a diversity response, all of these fall under the category of personal statements or admissions essays. So it's your opportunity to tell your story and be yourself in those. Please note, you should focus on one story. They are looking for one moment, one challenge, one setback. Sometimes when we start writing about one moment, we end up extrapolating or going beyond to a number of moments in our lives. Really take time to reflect and think about what is one opportunity and one moment from your life that you can really dive into that shows who you are, your values, and your character. Many prompts ask you to share what you learned or how you grew. They're looking to see who you are and what you bring to the table in terms of how you're maturing and growing into the college student that they're going to accept. So make sure in your essay you write about how you changed from the experience and what it shows about who you are today. Most prompts will also include a word limit, sometimes between 500 and 650 words if you're writing a shorter response, sometimes 50 to 100 words. Admissions officers across the country read thousands upon thousands upon thousands of applications. It's your job to stick within that word limit. There are admissions policies that sometimes, if their limit is 650 words, they will stop reading. And if you have the word 651, they will not read that. So work on being concise and get multiple rounds of feedback from people you trust, maybe your mentor, maybe your peers, maybe your English teachers. Getting feedback from those in your life, not only about what you could write about, but also about what you've written to make sure it's in tip-top shape to submit is only going to support your application process. So think to yourself right now, what experiences could you write about that really tell your story and give a picture of who you are for the admissions team? So here we go. That means your job today is to get started. Some of us have already started this process. Let's check out these directions. By 9:50 a.m. today, you're going to add a link to your personal statement to Overgrad. That's going to help us check out and make sure you're on track with your personal statement. Let's watch a video to see how to do this in Overgrad.
Here is how to link your personal statement to Overgrad. So first you'll log into Overgrad and you'll see this page, that's your home page. From here, in the top right corner, you will click My Profile. Under that, you'll click My Documents. From here, you'll see the button to click Add Essay. I'll click that. There'll be two options, upload a file and add a link. I will click Add a Link. From here, name of file, I will write Personal Statement. Please note that your name of your file must be personal statement. It must be spelled this way, it must be written this way. The reason why is that it helps us help you to check your statement and make sure you're on track along the way. If it says anything else, even if one letter is off, we will unfortunately will not be able to support you. So as one more reminder, under name of file, write personal statement. Under that, you'll take your Google Doc URL and you'll paste it there. You'll click Save File, and then you'll see your personal statement is added.
So to reiterate, here are the directions. First, you'll log into Overgrad. That's overgrad.com. You'll click My Profile, My Documents. You'll click Add Essay. Note, some of you might have actually started this work in junior year, and that's awesome. If you already have an essay listed, just click on the link and keep working from there. If you do need to add one, click Add a Link. Your name of your file is personal statement. You'll copy and paste the URL at the top of your Google Doc into Overgrad, and please be sure to change the settings so anyone can edit. Opening these settings allows tons of people to support you, including your mentor, your peers, as well as us as the college readiness team. And then you'll click Save File. By October 20th, your completed personal statement draft is due. Personal statements are a big piece of our work now to make sure you are ready and set up for those applications that are coming as early as November 1st for those of you choosing early action, early decision. When we looked at the calendar earlier, there's also some overlap in our financial aid timeline. We're going to talk about one step that's really going to prepare you for that financial aid work. Before you leave today, we want to let you know that Cash for College is coming up. This is an event where we expect all seniors to come in and get support filling out their financial aid application forms. In order to receive support from the government, including grants, free money, scholarships, free money, and loans, money you do have to pay back, as well as work study, opportunities to earn money for your education, In order to receive any of those, you must fill out a financial aid application. On October 6th or October 7th at your school site, depending on where you are, we're going to have access to experts around the forms like the FAFSA or the WASFA if you're in Washington, or the DREAM Act. And in order to fill out the FAFSA in particular, you do need to complete an FSA ID in advance. The FAFSA is for any US citizen. So if you are a US citizen, you want to set this up for yourself and your parent before Cash for College night. Let's check out the directions on how to do this. 1, you'll need to create an FSA ID by going to fsaid.ed.gov. You'll create an ID for yourself using your Social Security number and full legal name. This ID will be your signature later when you submit the FAFSA after it opens or you come to Cash for College night. If your parent or guardian has a Social Security number, have them create one as well. Please note, if you as a student have a Social Security number, but your parent does not, you will still complete the FAFSA, and that is okay. If you do not have a Social Security number, in that case, you will actually complete the WASFA if you're in Washington, and the DREAM Act if you're in California, and actually those don't require an ID. So right now we're just focusing on folks who need to complete the FAFSA. Please note, you need to record your username and password in somewhere safe, whether that's your phone, that's a notebook, on your Chromebook. Please keep track of it, because when the FAFSA opens and the financial aid applications open after October 1st, we'll need to come back to that password. And we can't tell you the number of times or how many times students have created these in advance and been really prepared, but then unfortunately forgotten their password and have to start the process over. So remember, if you are completing the FAFSA, that is for US citizens with a Social Security number, please create your FSA ID as soon as possible. We talked about a ton of information. Everything from how do I apply, to writing personal statements, to even starting for the financial aid process. We're gonna have time for your mentor group debrief for 10 minutes now. As a group, talk about, what did you hear? Why is this work important? What does this make you think about? And what questions do you have? Take 10 minutes right now to discuss. Press pause, and then press play when you're ready to return. Here are action items for today. Your debrief hopefully gave you some more clarity around the many things we're working on, and we're so excited for you to dive in not only to the application process with your personal statements, but also starting the financial aid process. So 1, draft and link your personal statement on Overgrad. 2, set up your FSA ID for yourself and a parent. If you have questions during the block today, make sure you GChat College Readiness Live during the block, or you can send us an email afterwards. We're really excited to see your personal statement starting, and we're excited to talk with you more about financial aid. Get started right now by opening Overgrad and starting your personal statement.